This segment is sponsored by Dennis Goins of DennisGoins.com. I'm Lady Charmaine, and I'm here with financial advisor, Mr. Dennis Goins from Dennis Goins and Associates. How are you doing today, Dennis?
I'm doing fine, Lady Charmaine. How are you?
Good, and I know that today you want to help families get their household cash flow back under control. So we're going to talk about that today. Why is that such a big concern for you?
Well, I think it's important because there's a lot going on now with household cash flow. And the big question that most of us ask is, where does your money go? And many people ask that question from time to time. Usually there's more muck than there is money. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about today a process to kind of help you kind of get your cash flow back under control. One of the key points is it's harder for the middle-class household to maintain financial control today. As I mentioned, things are getting more expensive, and too infrequently, we basically don't have enough cash to pay our bills, and a lot of us resort to credit and putting money over into credit cards, and there's some major economic trends that have really made it more challenging for households in the mid to five-figure incomes maintain a happy lifestyle. But there were some economic factors that kind of really impacted the middle class that was pretty much telling. In 81% of U.S. counties, the median income is lower today than it was in 1999. Even though we are in a recovery as an economy here, much of the job growth in the past few years has occurred within the service and retail sectors. The average full-time U.S. retail worker earns less than $25,000 a year. And between 1989 and 2014, the American economy has grown 83%. That's adjusted for inflation, with really no real wage growth for the middle-class household. This was quite telling here, Lady Charmaine. In the early 1960s, General Motors was America's largest employer, and its average full-time worker at that time earned an inflation-adjusted rate of $50 an hour, wow, plus benefits. Walmart now is America's largest workforce, and it pays the average sales associate less than $10 per hour, sometimes without benefits. So essentially, the middle class must manage to do more with less. Less inflation-adjusted income, that is, and the need for budgeting is really essential in that way. So we've got job growth, but we have an economy growth, but we don't really have any wage growth, and that really puts a pinch on our middle-class workers today. And you talk about the declining part of the middle class, it's really important, and that's why budgeting is really important, and that's why we have to really focus on the process of budgeting to basically deal with, again, less money, but expenses are growing. So how can you make the life more affordable for the middle class? I mean, you got to budget, as we talked about, and you got to promote the reliance on cash instead of plastic. And obviously, you got to be able to define and analyze your expenses, considering your income. And basically, you can't get to that. You hear me talk a lot about the $40 latte, where many people don't manage their checkbook, and they go and buy a latte at a coffee shop, and they overdraw the latte for the latte, and they pay the $5 for the latte plus $35 for the bank for them being overdrawn.
That's good.
So again, you got to develop a process to know and understand what you're doing, and you got to be able to budget for vacations. I mean, you want to go to a vacation, you got to cut back on coffee and eating out and other movies and whatever to budget for that, because 2 + 2 still equals 4. Mm-hmm. The major thing that, and I guess we're all guilty of this, is buying the right car. Now, I like BMWs and Porsches myself, but many middle class and families yearn to buy a new car which is a depreciating asset, or lease a new car because they want to be seen driving a better car than they can actually afford. The key point is actually afford. The better option might be to buy a lightly used car and drive it for several years, even a decade. Unglamorous, maybe, but basically it will leave you less indebted, and may be a key factor to help you kind of overcome this financial crisis that we have. And another thing is you got to plan for an emergency fund. One thing about it, the unexpected will definitely happen. And about a quarter of U.S. households lack an emergency fund. So what they do if they don't have the money, they put it on a credit card, which makes basically, again, spending money that they don't have. And don't risk living without medical and dental coverage. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, with some of the Affordable Care Act things now, then that is less of a challenge. But healthcare cost is a significant cost, particularly in retirement. It's expected to be $200,000 to $300,000 in your retirement. So you got to plan for that. You got to basically have and cover for the deductibles and the out-of-pocket that will happen with dental and medical coverage. And it goes down again to planning and budget. So these are some of the things that are affecting all of us. I mean, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. So if you make $1 million and you spend $1,100,000, then you just as unfortunate as a person that has $25,000 in a scrimping. So you got to budget, you got to analyze, and you got to know where you are.
That was really good information, because when I was reading over it, I was like, that is so true, because a lot of us really do need help in managing our cash flow that's coming in our homes, and make sure that we keep it under control. Because, I grew up in a household where my mom spent every dime that came in. If she had one last dollar to her name, it was being spent. And when you've grown up seeing those type of habits, you develop those type of habits as well, and not looking for saving for a rainy day. So how can people actually set a budget and keep a budget and really keeping that cash flow under control?
Well, that's something we talk about a lot when clients come into my office. Decide where you're going. You got to know where you are. Okay, mm-hmm. So you got to analyze where you are. You got to, and I've had clients that make $200,000 or $300,000 to come in, and they really don't keep an account of where their expenses or where the money's going. Obviously, they make money and they have it where they don't have a situation where they run out, but still, it's not good planning. You got to know where it is. You got to analyze it. So you got to sit down and document your expenses to answer your question. You got to know how much you're spending on cable, how much you're spending in eating out, how much you're spending on gas, and know and categorize that based on the necessary expenses and what we call discretionary expenses, things you can do without. But you've got to take an account and monitor that and see where that's going. And again, 2 plus 2 still equals 4. So if you're spending a certain amount of money, you got to have the income, not credit cards. You got to have the income, the cash, to basically accommodate that. And if people would just take that simple step, and analyzing and categorizing where they are, it would do, that they would be, I think a lot would be surprised of how much money they spend on non-essential things. And we're not talking about, basically, doing uncomfortable, but at least knowing where you are. I mean, we're not saying you should do it out or whatever, but at least know where you are. And there's a lot of people, about 60 or 70% of America doesn't know where they're spending their money. According to some research.
So if somebody wanted to talk to you, where can they reach you?
They can reach me at my email address, dennis@dennisgoins.com. They can also tap into my website at www.dennisgoins.com. And, of course, I'm on LinkedIn at Dennis Goins and Associates, and have a Facebook page, Dennis Goins and Associates.
Hey, man. Well, Dennis, I want to just say thank you so much for coming on the show. And we always know we want to make sure that everyone knows that he is on Praise 98 FM every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you check him out. And also you can go to his website and also check him out right there on YouTube. So, again, thank you, Dennis, so much.
Thank you very much, Lady Charmaine. Have a good day.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to learn more about financial investments, contact Dennis Goins at dennisgoins.com.